What's cracking, everybody? See it? New video. Welcome to the pad. I just got off the live just now and winding down for the night. And I told you guys I may show you guys the Christmas tree. Well, there it is. So, anyways, to the question. You see the thumbnail, you see the title of the video. So the last video that I did had to do with the incident that just occurred in High Desert. And I'm not surprised by the callousness of some of the comments. I understand where some people come from. But one comment did stand out to me. And that comment was that I'm only looking at the incident from the perspective of a convict. And that is completely incorrect, untrue. If I was doing that, I wouldn't be worried about what society should do to try to change the course of corrections in this state. You know, I think people, let me adjust this. I think that the majority of people, the vast majority of people do not understand that 80% of those incarcerated in the California Department of Corrections return to society within, I believe it's about 10 years. Okay. So would you, I want to try to figure out an analogy. Like, I think isn't there coyotes, and no, they're not dogs, right? Isn't there coyotes that become domesticated, but they're still coyotes, or is it wolves? I don't know. I saw something on on YouTube about it. Would you prefer to have a domesticated or a feral coyote come into your home with your children? You would want it to be domesticated, right? People are having issue with my last video. Very small amount of people are saying that, well, if those guys wouldn't have committed crimes and placed themselves in that position, then this wouldn't have occurred. Okay, but they did place themselves in that position, right? That can't be taken away. There's an old adage, a society should be, what is it? It has something about, a society should be judged based on how they treat their inmates or their prisoners. Things are a lot better now than they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But are we okay with where it's at now? We shouldn't be. There's a lot less riots going on in the Department of Corrections. You don't hear about full-scale warfare within the Department of Corrections anymore, the way you did in the 90s, right? The way you did in the 80s, the way you did in the 70s. And that's because the SHU was shut down and people were let out that can control things, that could see things for themselves and make a decision on the spot. But no matter what, prison is going to be prison. And there's going to be in-house cleanups, and that's understandable. It's unfortunate, but it's understandable. But I think the CDC has a long ways to go, and my concern is out here. We don't want them to create a situation where people go back to the full-out warfare mentality and then get released from prison, from a lockdown. You know, I don't think society understands the mindset of somebody, of a man who's in the middle of a war. And he's strapped up every day, 24 hours a day, waiting for his door to pop to get to his rival. And the next cell is doing the same thing, and the next cell is doing the same thing, regardless of what faction it is. And those men get released with no pre-parole, with no decompression. They get released back into society and they may become your neighbor. And are you going to say, what are you going to say if unfortunately something happens to your child? You're going to say the system failed you. The system failed your family. But why are you going to say that? Because they released them. No. If that man committed a crime that had a certain term limit to it, and he completed that term, that's what's supposed to happen. That's not where the system failed you. The system failed you in incarcerating and warehousing men and making them into savages. You know, it's like when I went to YA, I've said this a lot of times, the California Youth Authority bred killers. The CDC does too. Why? Because there is, over the last 7 or 8 years, there's been more of a push to rehabilitation, but we can't become complacent. And I'll tell you this right now. I don't believe I've ever spoken on this before. If I have, my bad, but it would have been an older video. But let me tell you something. Before Gray Davis left office, with the push of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition and Jerry Brown, not Gray Davis. Gray Davis was horrible. Jerry Brown, they were pushing to get more vocations into prisons, giving out incentives to get into those vocations, complete them, get into get your GED, get your college, you know, AA. I believe you can even get masters in there now. There was pushes for that stuff, right? And if you did these things, for every one of these things you completed, you would get more time off, because you know why? You were expanding your mind, right? But the reality is this. You had a certain amount of money that was allotted to a certain prison, right? And instead of hiring somebody who was actually certified in that vocation, you had somebody that hired their cousin, brought their cousin in. And you know what that did? It made it to where that class could never be certified. But they had somebody in place so that Sacramento would keep funneling that money into that prison, keep funneling that money into that prison. That is a failure to society. These are the things that society is not aware of. What is the point in getting somebody to get into, I think there was like an auto mechanics, right? Where you learn how to repair engines, but you can't be certified. So you're in there however long it takes to get this completion, but not certification. Yet Sacramento doesn't know that. They're just sending paper, sending bread. And so a guy goes and he does the whole thing, and then at the end he realizes, like, this is fucking shit. I can't even get a fucking job like this, you know. And I mean, they can. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dumb. They can, but can they get what they should get? Absolutely not, because they don't have that certification. They would get in at a lower rate than the next guy, right? You know, for anyone, you know, I find it funny when I hear people say, you know, that they're institutionalized and yet they've never been to prison, or they did a year in prison, you know, and they've never done a violation and they got out parole. If you're able to be a productive member of society, how are you institutionalized? You know, when people have said in the comments, I'm institutionalized because of the stances that I take on this type of stuff, they got it fucked up. I'm honest about the situation. And, you know, believe it or not, there are guards that watch my channel, and they do get at me when they see a video that they understand, and they're like, hey, you kept it real on that. That's already happened on this high desert thing. They know. Look, and somebody made a comment, well, you know, they did what they did, and the guard, what was the guard supposed to do? Look the other way? Nah, the guard, he was smart, would have shot him in the leg. Or shot him in the foot. They get trained in weaponry. They have to go get certified. They have to train all the time if they're going to be in the gun tower. They can, that guard had the right to do whatever he wanted. Imagine how much fear he's living under right now, though. you know. But like I said, I've had CEOs reach out already and say, that's real shit. They're the ones that have to walk that yard now. They're the ones that have to sell feed now. They have to open that handcuff port and slide that tray in there. Is something going to come through that handcuff port? They're worried about that. I guarantee that. And it was because of calls made by people in Sacramento in business suits that'll never walk those yards and never walk those tiers. So I just wanted to, you know, do a quick spiel on that and just hopefully I open up your minds a little bit more. I can't change your mind. That's not my intent. Is not to change your mind. My intent is to educate you. Understand that I'm not looking at it solely from a convict's point of view. I'm looking at it from both. As a productive member of society, but also one knowledgeable in the thinking and the buffoonery that's going on. You guys gotta fucking ask questions, man. If you really care about your community and society as a whole, ask questions on what Sacramento is spending these billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars on. All right, man. So with that, everybody, please stay safe, stay smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.